Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone. Excuse me. Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. If I sound a little worse than usual, it is because just want to get this out front. I tried to relive my glory days by going to an arcade, and instead of being the germ spreader, probably the source of like COVID-07, I actually caught something. So it turns out I'm not immune to those things and I am sick. But hey, everyone, we're going to get through this and it's going to be just fine. So everyone, welcome back into Computer America. Hope you didn't miss us too much. And today on the show, we have Ralph Bond. He is our science and tech trends correspondent, where we are going to talk about a number of different stories about all kinds of topics. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a very fun, uplifting story because, let's face it, you need some uplift and hey, you might need some stories if your flight's been canceled. So yeah, we got you covered on both fronts. Everyone, welcome into the program once again, and computeramerica.com is where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, show notes, articles, recorded shows, links to social media, links to the YouTube, anything that you may need. Computer America on all socials, and of course, computeramerica.com. So the video portion is really cool. It'll help you see things. And, Ralph has a ton of stories that are going to have a visual component. But if you are simply listening, that is going to be okay as well. We'll do our best to explain that. So there you also find the show notes. We have a section at the top just for Ralph, and you can see the show notes right there. And it have links, everything that you need if you're busy or if you're occupied, all that. So let's go ahead, bring Ralph on, and just enjoy our time together. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, longtime Computer America contributor turned science and tech trends correspondent, which means he gets to talk about anything science and technology touches. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a lot of stuff. So everyone, welcome back onto the program. Ralph, how you been?
I'm doing great, and I hope you get better real soon. I can really relate to your problem, like I was saying before we went on air here. My colds and those issues are either a couple of days and they're done, or weeks. So hang in there, buddy. I hope for the best.
It'll certainly be all right. But Ralph, I think for new folks out there who have not heard my plague voice, why don't you go ahead and tell them what we try to do here?
You bet. Folks, if you're brand new to the show, first of all, welcome. It's great to have you. And as Ben was saying, if you're just listening to us, please come out to computeramerica.com, excuse me, and get the show notes, because we'll have links, pictures, all this kind of good stuff. In some cases, some videos you can watch that relate to each of the stories. But what Ben and I do each Friday is highlight 4 articles that show us key trends and developments in a host of things. Of course, artificial intelligence, that seems to be in every story. Robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural technology, construction technology, space research, physics. I could go on. It covers everything. But most important of all, we're going to give you hope for a better future, thanks to the amazing breakthroughs happening every single day in the world of science and technology.
Absolutely. And before we get started with story number 1 even, Ralph throws in things like, kind of side notes, further research, just stuff that you should know about. Right. And, this time he has included something before we even get into a story. And this is about it seems like one of many experiences that Google has in terms of their arts and culture section, which obviously Google is very in touch with, their Google Doodles and all the different initiatives and all the different projects that they want to bring people, make people aware of. And Ralph, you found this one pretty interesting. I'm going to throw it up on screen. We'll talk people through it, but I'm just going to, try to poke around as we talk about it.
Yeah, so like Ben was saying, this is kind of a little bonus insert here. Normally we jump right into a story looking at an article, but I wanted to share this. My son-in-law works for Google, And he sent me a link to this and said, hey, Ralph, I think you're going to really enjoy this. And it's called Route 66 Rewind. If you're familiar with Route 66, very famous, the road from Chicago all the way to Los Angeles. It goes through some amazing parts of our country. And this is just an astonishing virtual experience. You can learn about every stop along the way. What Ben is showing you there just a second ago was Abraham Lincoln's home, and all these different interesting things that are part of the incredible Route 66. So we have a link in the show notes for you and a little bit more information. So go out and check that out if you're interested in looking at that. I sure have. I've been playing around with this, and it's a hoot.
Seems like a great way to go sightseeing without, the actual leaving your home and that kind of thing. Takes out a lot of the travel, which, traveling is fun, but it also can get you sick. But no, it will take you to key places that, very quickly. And Ralph, Google and education, I think, have kind of gone hand in hand for a long time.
Yeah.
They definitely want to, obviously Google is kind of a lot of people's gateway to information. What is this? Where is the world's largest ketchup bottle?
Yes.
So for Google to want to try to, I guess, present that same information, because, they have Google Images, which I'm sure this is where they pull from. They have the information, which they can pull up with their AI assistant, to present it in a different way. I actually find very interesting. So thank you to your son for, kind of keying us into this. And and everyone, again, it's in the show notes. So go check those out.
Yep.
So with that being said, right there, and also, again, there were tons of different experiences, not just Route 66, but that one as well. Let's start with story number 1, Ralph, and let's talk about, mushrooms and computers, the two things that go hand in hand.
Yes. Time and time again over the last many years, Ben and I have had stories about the amazing properties of mushrooms. People using mushrooms as a source to make a faux leather, for example, that comes to mind. There's just many other things. Research that shows that the mycelia, the network of roots, if you will, between mushrooms, there's evidence that they're communicating with each other. I mean, it's beyond weird, okay? But this is a really fun additional insert into the wide world of weird when it comes to mushrooms and science. So this comes from Ohio State, their news outlet, and it was picked up by other publications as well. Headline: Powered by mushrooms, living computers are on the rise. Subhead: Neural organics lead to lower energy costs, faster calculation speeds. This is just so off the charts, weird and fascinating all at once. And we have, of course, links to the show notes and the research paper as well.
Right. It definitely seems like every other day we're not, obviously we're going through some kind of revolution with AI, and, we're going through some kind of transformation when it comes to computing. But, Ralph, I do still see the occasional story trickle up saying, if we do everything completely different, maybe we can make this better. So, and I do think that does have value because, Ralph, we're taking what we have built upon the last, 30 or the last 50, 60, 70 years and improving it. But, fundamentally, there might be something different. And hey, it might be mushroom.
Well, this is very different, that's for sure. So the article talks about fungal networks may be a promising alternative to tiny metal devices, and what they're referring to in that sentence is, as you will see in the abstract below, this refers to semiconductor-based neuromorphic chips, and stand by, we'll explain. So mushrooms may be used in processing and storing digital memories. We're going to find out what they mean by that, and other computer data, according to a new study from researchers at Ohio State. So a little side note here: neuromorphic computing is inspired by the structure of the brain and offers advantages in parallel processing, memory storage, and energy efficiency. However, current semiconductor-based neuromorphic chips require rare earth materials and costly fabrication processes, whereas neural organoids, mushrooms in this case, need neural organoids, the kind of thing like they do for organ research, need complex bioreactor maintenance. So I made a little mistake there. The neural organoids is not a reference to the mushrooms. So there's some optional information in the show notes here that I insert to give you more information, so you can check that out. But I'm going to skip down back to the story here. Mushrooms have long been recognized for their extreme resilience and unique properties. Their innate abilities make them perfect specimens for bioelectronics. We're throwing a lot of stuff at you here. Bioelectronics, neurocomputing, all this good stuff. There's a lot going on here. You need to dig into the article and learn more. But about they're perfect. Their abilities are perfect for bioelectronics, an emerging field that for the next generation of computing could help develop exciting new materials. And then get this, for example, researchers at The Ohio State University recently discovered that common edible fungi, such as shiitake mushrooms, can be grown and trained. This gets so weird. Grown and trained to act as organic memristors. That's memristors. Stand by, we'll explain. Can be trained to be organic memristors, a type of data processor, more like a memory component, actually, that can remember past electrical states. Folks, this is weird. I admit it up front. You need to dig into the real article and the research paper to truly understand this. But a real quick side note, a memristor, short for memory resistor, is a type of passive electrical component that can both control electrical current and remember the amount of charge that has previously flowed through it, even after power is turned off. What? So a mushroom can be a memristor?
Yeah, and I'm glad they also answered, what type of mushroom is the best for this. And I guess the answer is shiitake, because you can't go oyster or anything. You got to have the right kind of mushroom. Makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And to wrap this up real quick here, and again, I encourage you to come out to the show notes if you're an ultra geek and you want to really understand this. But to wrap things up, their findings showed that these shiitake-based devices not only demonstrated similar reproducible memory effects to semiconductor-based chips, but could also be used to create other types of low-cost, environmentally friendly, brain-inspired computing components. Okay, you might be saying, is this made-up science fiction? No. It's so weird, though. You have to check it out.
The applications are probably very niche. This is probably not the answer to the future of computing, but it could be the answer to some kind of computing. And Ralph, I was just thinking, what would this look like sitting on your counter? And from the article, this is essentially, if you're watching the video portion, it's a bowl of just mushroom mush. And I'm like, I think I've seen that somewhere before. And some of the images that we've seen online, I think some people were pioneering this back in the early 2000s.
Oh,
wow. Gross computers have always been a thing. And I think these are just more of the same. So interesting story, Ralph.
That little photo you threw up of an ancient desk, very untidy and very dirty looking. God, it looks like it's from some abandoned building that's been suddenly discovered. Reminds me, young folks, I'm so old. Monitors for computers, folks, used to be great, big, giant tube things that weighed a ton and took a lot of space. And that picture really brings back memories.
Well, hopefully not exact memories, because that is a gross workstation. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think even young people would know about the big monitors have improved a lot, but of course I'm thinking like the big TVs, like everyone who bought like those giant TVs, and they're like, oh, I don't want to throw that away. That's my favorite 60-inch TV. And it's like, it weighs 800 pounds. So we have to figure out how to move this thing.
Those rear projection TVs that were gigantic boxes with, Lord, those things were hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
Exactly. But okay, so mushroom aside, very, and you can see, start to get a sense of just where these stories kind of go is really anywhere. And that one is some very interesting research. So we'll see if that comes back. And honestly, Ralph, I'm expecting a system like that, or technology breakthrough like that, to maybe, a monitoring system somewhere in nature that might be a little hard to get to, or places with like a lot of moisture that traditional computer components could get damaged. Hey, there is, it's going to be a little bit of everything that is going to solve our problem. So story number one. Story number two, though, let's go ahead and jump on down. If you're watching the video portion, you can see it here. And we have, it's a hydrogen fuel cell, which is a technology that has had the steady drumbeat for, a couple of decades now. But, it's it needs to hit better proliferation and better, kind of, it needs to be used for more things than just, the few things that it currently is. And story number 2 might be exactly that. And this thing, farm and technology, looks so futuristic, so cool.
Yeah. This is a great example of one of the areas we cover, agricultural tech. And we mentioned construction technology. There's 2 worlds that are going very high tech and very exciting. They're not dull and boring, and that's construction and agriculture. And this, of course, is for agriculture. It comes from a magazine called equipmentworld.com. Headline, Kubota, the famous maker of, they're like the John Deere of the rest of the world, right? So Kubota claims world's first hydrogen fuel cell self-driving tractor. And if you're watching our show, you can see a really wonderful image of this prototype. And again, this is a prototype, okay? And we have a video that you can see and all this good stuff in the show notes. So let's scroll down and get into the story. At the Expo 2025 at Osaka, Japan, last month, Kubota unveiled a concept tractor the company says is the world's first autonomous hydrogen fuel cell tractor. You can see there's no place for a human being to sit in the cab or anything. This is an autonomous vehicle. It's powered by compressed hydrogen, which is pumped into the tractor's hydrogen tanks, similar to a gas or diesel pump. Its output is equivalent to 100 horsepower diesel engine, the company says. And right away, you're going to 100 horsepower. That's kind of nothing. Stand by. It's 2 motors in this machine. You'll learn in just a second here. The tractor consists of 2 motors, one for driving the vehicle and the other for power takeoff to power implements. And I went, power takeoff? I guess my farm friends just a couple of miles out from where I live would know what this means. I had to look it up. A power takeoff is a device that transfers mechanical power from the tractor's engine to an attached implement or accessory like a mower, tiller, so on. It's a common feature in agricultural and industrial equipment, allowing tools to draw energy directly from the tractor's engine via a rotating shaft. But in this case, with the Kubota autonomous tractor, one motor drives the tractor itself, and the other powers the power takeoff system to operate external implements. So that's what's going on here with the 2 100 horsepower machines, or motors rather. And to operate, the system first supplies hydrogen to the tanks to solid polymer fuel cell module. The hydrogen then reacts with oxygen from the air, producing electrical energy in water, and the electrical energy powers the motor, and the water is its only emission. That's a classic, of course, of hydrogen fuel cells. And a solid polymer fuel cell module is a compact energy system that uses a solid polymer membrane to convert hydrogen and oxygen into electricity, water, and heat. It's also known as a proton exchange membrane fuel cell. So that's the technology underpinning this thing. Cool video, by the way.
Yeah. The video that we're showing here, kind of shows the diagram and what they're, kind of proposing that this whole thing does. And, it seems basic, but I mean, it's really explaining. And by the way, they say water vapor. This thing is just watering the grass as it kind of goes over it. It is just draining water. But still, it really, kind of shows just how kind of common this would be. So, Ralph, sometimes we talk about new technology and it's like completely different. This one's like, you fuel it, you plug it in, and you just, press the pedal and you go, or, autonomous in this case. Like, it really highlights just how, I guess, familiar this new energy source would be.
I think, to pick up on where you're going with that comment, I think it's very deployable because sometimes with hydrogen fuel cell technology, there's an infrastructure challenge and problem. How do we really realistically deploy this technology? In this case, just like you said, the guy takes the hose, he sticks it in there, he pumps the fuel into the machine, and away you go. It seems like it could be very deployable, very practical, very realistic. Picking up on the story, though, the tractor can drive itself to the field by using advanced sensors and, of course, artificial intelligence-based cameras for perception and to maneuver around obstacles. It can be operated by remote control from anywhere or on site. And in the video, the company shows a remote monitoring and control station where an operator uses a steering wheel, foot pedal, and large wall-mounted screens to run the tractor. It also shows an operator using a laptop-like device with shoulder harness to control the tractor close up in person out in the field. The futuristic-looking tractor does not have an operator station, meaning a cab, for a person to ride in. And the next step, the company says, Kubota says, is to conduct field tests in Japan. So, friends, this is twinkle of the eye, extremely early, prototype machine we're looking at here. They're going to now take it out into the field and perfect it. And who knows, in the future, you may drive by a farm field and see something out there with no human being visible riding around on a tractor.
from what I know about farm equipment, which is admittedly very little, I know that they are getting more and more computerized, and they are, not autonomous as of yet, but they are very automated, and they can, plow entire fields all by themselves, just like a route set with, markers set up. This is the next logical conclusion. It's just, how do we get there? And this one seems to be a very nice blend of, environmentally friendly fuel and high-tech autonomous driving and whatnot. So,
cool stuff.
And I'm glad that it's coming from a company, like you said, that is not just, kind of pop up out of nowhere, might disappear into nowhere. No, this is a very well-known company doing this.
Yes.
So there you go. Very cool images, very cool video. Check that out in the show notes. And hope to see more of it, because, it's it's going to have to go that way. I really do feel just autonomous, equipment kind of mining the fields, and hey, where machines can do it, machines can do it. So story number 2, let's go ahead and jump on over to story number 3. And this one is, we've covered here and there about breakthroughs when it comes to technology, about, maybe sending very rudimentary signals to the brain. I think we did one with an implant a while ago where it would, it wouldn't tell you much other than like, light and dark, or, this, that, or the other.
Right.
And, even something as small as that would be a huge quality of life improvement for people. But this story, I think, takes it a little bit further, and it's really, and just based on the images, based on what I can see of this eyesight story, seems really crazy.
Oh, yeah, this is fascinating stuff. And normally, folks, if you're new to the show, usually the fourth or last story that we highlight each week would be a medical technology. This week, there were 2 medical stories I felt were so compelling that I wanted to share them. So let's get into this. This comes from Stanford University. Their Stanford Medicine News Center, their online outlet, was picked up by other publications around the world as well. Headline, eye prosthesis is the first to restore sight lost to macular degeneration. Again, it's good old Stanford. We have links. We have links to the research paper and so on. Check it out in the show notes. But let's get into this. A tiny wireless chip implanted in the back of the eye and a pair of high-tech glasses have partially restored vision to people with an advanced form of age-related macular degeneration. Okay, wow. Side note, by the way, about 6% of Americans, roughly 19.8 million people today, are affected by macular degeneration. And if you're not familiar, macular degeneration destroys light-sensitive photoreceptors in the center of the retina. That's the thin neural tissue in the back of the eye that converts light into electrical signals, and then that information travels to the brain. So there's a little tutorial on that.
I had no idea, by the way, that 6%, like 1 out of every 20, pretty much, people were affected by this. That is a lot of people.
That's shocking, isn't it? I tell you. And that's why, again, Ben, to your point, that's why I thought I have to share this story. It's so important and impacts so many people. So in a clinical trial led by Stanford Medicine researchers at Stanford University, along with international collaborators, quite a few, by the way, 27 out of 32 participants had regained the ability to read a year after receiving the device. So it's not a snap solution, but it's very promising. With digital enhancements enabled by the device, get ready for this, such as zoom and higher contrast, some participants could read with acuity equivalent to 20/42 vision. Now, I'm not an eye doctor, so I can't tell you exactly where that fits in. I know 20/20 is supposed to be really great. I don't know where 20/42 stands in it, but these people could read. That's the bottom line, and that's very exciting.
So, excuse me. So, from what I can see here, 2040. So, I think everyone knows the eye chart. If your eyesight's really bad, you probably haven't memorized, so you can still drive. But yeah, the eye chart, the second to last line of that eye chart, if you can kind of visualize it in your head, that is 2040. So the smallest is 2030, but still, to be able to read the second smallest lettering on the vision chart is essentially what they're saying.
I see. No pun intended. Okay, that's cool. So going back to the news announcement here, the device, which is called Prima, it's really the system because it's the chip combined with the glasses, is the first eye prosthesis to restore functional sight to patients with incurable vision loss, giving them the ability to perceive shapes and patterns, also known as form vision. And earlier, Ben, you mentioned in passing the bit about a lot of technology we've talked about involving the eye has to do with increasing the ability to perceive light. This is something called form vision improvement, the ability to perceive shapes and patterns, which is critical for reading, of course. The co-senior author of the team's research paper noted, quote, all previous attempts to provide vision with prosthetic devices resulted in basically light sensitivity, not really form vision. We are the first to provide form vision. That's the drum roll, applause, please, breakthrough here.
Very cool.
And then how does this work? How does the system work? The two-part device consists of a small camera mounted on a pair of glasses that captures images and projects them in real time via infrared light to a wireless chip in the eye. Oh, wow. The chip converts the images into electrical stimulation, effectively taking the place of natural photoreceptors that have been damaged by the disease, macular degeneration. And Prima, to wrap it up here, Prima is the culmination of decades of development, prototypes, animal trials, and a small first in human trial. Wow. Applause to Stanford and great hope for anyone suffering from macular degeneration. Someday there may be a solution for you. If you can imagine the process of having a chip stuck in your eye, that part skeletal makes me kind of go, oh.
As someone who has had LASIK, it's a little off-putting, but I'm sure the ability to read is also pretty enticing. So, I'm sure they'll do it. And by the way, turns out it's called a Snellen chart. Who knows? I was kind of caught up.
There you go.
Yeah, caught up on the 2040. 2040 is somewhere here in the middle, vision. So when
pretty good.
Ralph, they said in the article, they said functional vision. It's not 2020, which is even lower down, which is down there. And then it goes all the way down to 2010 vision, which is, you can read the tiny, tiny little lettering about that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, but still 2040 and very impressive. And, Ralph, like we were talking about, when you're talking before this, just being able to see light or dark, and then to be able to go to 2040, very impressive work that Stanford's doing.
Yes,
so
wonderful stuff.
Yep, always fun to shout out the research that universities are doing. It's such a hotbed. So, story number 3, story number 4, also medical news, and this one is, I hate to say a cure because it's never a cure, but it seems like incredible progress when it comes to at least curing our good friends mice, because mice are just infected with so many cancers and Alzheimer's and high blood pressure. But Ralph, we're going to cure those mice one day. It's,
yes.
Yeah. So story number 4.
And you'll find out what Ben's alluding to here in a moment. This comes from ZMEScience.com headline. And this headline just made me fall out of my chair just about. Scientists reverse Alzheimer's in mice with a single injection. Subhead, it only took 2 hours for a visible difference. Okay, stand by. You're going to understand this in a moment. We have a link to the article, of course, and a link to the research paper. This is mind-blowing. First of all, let's give you some background on today's treatments for Alzheimer's disease, specifically targeting or attacking amyloid plaques in the brain. And today's treatments have advanced significantly, though they remain limited to early stages of the disease. And in the show notes, I've inserted information about what are neurological plaques, if you want to get tuned into that. There's also some optional added information I've inserted, breaking down the 2 FDA-approved plaque targeting therapies currently available. You can go and check that out if you're really into this topic. But let's get back to this. The big news is this. Now, in a stunning new breakthrough, an international team of researchers headed by the University College London has flipped the script. Instead of attacking the plaques, they rebooted the brain's natural cleaning system, giving it tools to clean itself. You're going to understand this in a moment. Using nanoparticles as a kind of Trojan horse, they restored the function of the blood-brain barrier, in specific, the brain's waste clearance system, and the results were striking. In just 2 hours, they cleared nearly half of the amyloid plaque from the brains of mice with advanced Alzheimer's. So plaque is the culprit, right? And they were able to flush almost half of the plaque out of the brains of these Alzheimer's inflicted mice in 2 hours with a single injection. And the image there that Ben is showing on the screen on the left is the before. You can see the red colors highlight the plaque. And then on the other side, look at how astonishingly reduced the plaque is in the brains of these mice.
It certainly reminds me of like maybe like the toothpaste commercials where they show like the tooth covered in plaque and then like after or like mouthwash and they show the other tooth, and like if you look technically legally they're not allowed to show you a perfect tooth, they have to show you like 1 or 2 pieces, kind of that dichotomy. It's just everywhere in the left image and not gone in the right, but so less in the right. Yeah.
So impressive. Yeah. And talk about impressive. It goes on to say even more impressive. The cognitive recovery stuck around. Treated mice regained memory and learning abilities comparable to their healthy peers. And the benefits lasted for at least 6 months after a single treatment. Now, this is my comment, a side comment. I wonder, what are they saying? Do you have to repeat the application of this injection every, say, 6 months or something to keep it going? That part I didn't learn. You probably could find that out in the research paper. But let's get a quote here from the lead researcher, Giuseppe Battaglia. And he noted, quote, "There's still important work ahead before human testing, but the results give us strong hope." Talk about hope. We mentioned that at the beginning of the show. This is great. And he goes on to say, our next steps involve confirming safely and reproducibility, to confirm safety and reproducibility in larger preclinical models and conducting detailed toxicology studies in accordance with regulatory standards. If these confirm what we've already seen, a strong recovery with no toxicity, we plan to move toward early clinical trials, which I assume mean humans. And the goal is to bring this approach from the lab to patients, offering a new way to treat Alzheimer's by restoring the brain's own defense and repair systems. Bravo, bravo. I love it.
Yeah. And, it's just one of those diseases that is, just so awful that I think when it comes to even the hope of something reversing and our treatments for it are not zilch, which Ralph, you've kind of highlighted at the beginning of this article, but the outcomes are so bad and the treatments are so few. I think they'd have people just lining up to try something like this.
Yeah.
If it's, has anywhere near the promise effects. It's, very exciting research, and it would help so many people because Alzheimer's is among the diseases, one of the worst. It's bad. So really amazing stuff. Images, say 1,000 words. But you know what says 1,000 words? The research paper that I just tried to read. It says thousands of words. It's link in the show notes. So there you go. So Ralph, amazing stories. Glad that you brought both story 3 and story 4, both medical, to us. And in fact, all the stories. So ladies and gentlemen out there, if you are listening and you are following along, because by the time that you hear this, you'll be able to find the show notes. You may notice that the show notes, they kind of go on. There's more to it. And Ralph, we're going to at least give the nice folks the honorable mentions. These are stories that are perfectly good. They're not worse, they're not less. It's just we try to keep the show a little bit more toned down than our traditional 2-hour shows. And we can at least give people more stories that if they want to go out and find out more, come out to computeramerica.com, go to the bottom of the show notes, and you will find these stories. But Ralph is at least going to give you the headlines, and we'll talk a little bit about it. And then, computeramerica.com. So Ralph, let's go ahead.
Yeah. Our first story here of 4 honorable mentions, real quick. This comes from hydrogenfuelnews.com. Very specific, industry-specific outlet. If you're interested in this field, this is one of the places to go to. Headline, hydrogen production takes flight at Hamburg airport with new infrastructure roadmap. Real quick, we talk about the challenge of hydrogen has great promise as a fuel for aviation and other purposes, but it's the infrastructure. It's how do you deliver it? How do you keep it on site? How do you get it into the vehicles? All these things. This is a story about an airport in Germany where they're really trying to figure this out and deploy it. So check it out. It's a great step forward. The next honorable mention comes from interestingengineering.com, one of my favorite go-to places. Headline, smart elastomer muscles give soft robotics a record 2,000 times lifting capability. What? Wow. If you're into robotics, you have to check this out.
Quickly getting into ant territory, being able to lift more than its weight.
Oh, crazy. Vastly more. Yeah. It's just, I think if the statistic is something like 200,000% of its body weight, I mean, just what? Yeah. Anyway, that's good for robotics. Check it out if you're interested in this. And this story, the next one comes from livescience.com. Headline, Toyota to launch world's first EV with a solid state battery by 2027, the company says, and they're expected to last longer and charge faster than current lithium-ion batteries in EVs today. So check that one out if you're interested in automotive battery technology story.
It's one of the stories that, Ralph, people always ask me, why is there never a new battery? Why is there no battery breakthrough? And it's like, it's hard, but they're coming.
Yeah, they are. And there's so much going on in the world of batteries. There's sodium battery technology. There's advancements in lithium ion, the traditional stuff, and now solid state. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's such an interesting field to follow and very complex and so much work going on all over the world. So it's a whole show in itself over and over again forever. We could do nothing but batteries. Mm-hmm. So our last honorable mention this week is from recyclingmagazine.com. Recycling Magazine. This is a real targeted publication.
I wonder what they talk about.
Yeah. Well, headline, artificial intelligence identifies batteries in the waste stream. Now, to explain that, waste stream refers to these conveyor belts. Maybe you can picture this in your mind if you're listening to us only. Ben is showing pictures that show this. Those big conveyor belts that take all the recycled stuff that people contribute, if you want to call it that. And this AI-based system can identify batteries in the waste stream. This is a non-trivial thing to pull off. Quite a story. Very, very interesting. Check it out. It's all about a company called Lion Vision. Really cool stuff.
Yep. Voice given out me. But no, we're not going to have time, but you can see the video there. And if you want to find out more, computeramerica.com. You can find it right there. The music that is playing softly in the background means that, Ralph, we're going to wrap up here. And if people want to find out more, we're going to close that video down and then go out to Computer America and see that video and all the videos and everything else. And also, as we mentioned way at the beginning, the experience with the Route 66. And if classic Americana isn't your thing, you also included a link to the Google Arts and Culture page, which has tons of different places, games, museums, art that people can check out. Hey, it's a fun experience for everyone, and it's absolutely free. So check that out. So, Ralph, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Excuse me, for coming on and sharing all this with us. Ladies and gentlemen, computeramerica.com. You'll find everything. Until next time, have a great weekend. Do something fun. We'll catch you then. Everyone, have a good one. Bye, everyone.